Okay, folks, so today on Psycho for Tycho, we're going to talk about one of my builds. And it's going to be the Tonopah Tidewaters Railroad number 6. So this week I decided to do something a little different than show you how to do certain repairs and modeling techniques, and decided I was going to show you one of my finished products, or at least almost finished product. This is about, I would say, 95% done. This is a very close representation to one of the Tonopah Tidewaters steam locomotives that they used between the early 1900s to 1941. This one is number 6, and this came out to be a very close representation. The only big difference is the headlight on the actual number 6 was different, and if I remember right, the domes were a little bit different. This was probably one of the harder locomotives for me to model, even though I'm doing a modern Tonopah Tidewater. As far as proto-freelancing goes, I did want to have a couple of historical locomotives on my roster for fan trips and things like that. And so trying to find the correct boiler and cab and everything else, the drive, it was fruitless. And then one day on eBay, I find this die-cast consolidation that's made by Aristocraft in the 1960s. So I was like, yay, I've got a locomotive I can model this after. Problem is, almost every Nevada steam railroad had an oil burning tender, and for some reason the model railroad industry loves to make coal tenders. Not every railroad ran on coal. Southern Pacific, for example, they ran on oil. Western Pacific ran on oil. So there were a lot of western roads that didn't use coal burning locomotives. So my next step was to find a tender that was close enough to correct, and this is where Psycho for Tycho comes in. This actually came off a Tycho Pony locomotive, an 040, and with that began the painstaking process of remotoring this, regearing this, and then building this up as DCC. So the whole DCC module, the speaker, the Keep Alive circuit, and the Digitrax decoder is stuffed in the tender. And I'm not about to take the tender apart to show it to you because it's a pain in the tuchus to put it back in and get it right. So we're just going to flip this around. So with the Tycho tender, fortunately the coal load was removable. So all I did was I just found an oil bunker part and glued that on here. And then you can see the wires for the DCC going in. The motor, which you can kind of see in here, I don't know, can I zoom in? Oh, no. That's all the zoom I zoom. The motor is a little Mishima motor that I replaced in, and used a brass rod for the rest of the drive, which slid in over the shaft, and then simple gearing system, worm gear, tooth gear here, and then the painting, the decaling, and then the final part was modifying the pilot. And I was able to find a brass pilot to put on. And let me tell you, folks, okay, trying to get a brass pilot onto a die-cast freaking locomotive is dang near impossible. I must have used about 40 gallons of epoxy just to get this thing mounted on, sanded, and everything else. So, like I said, this one's been converted to DCC, and all my locomotives are DCC now. All my locomotives are DCC with sound. They used to be DCC without sound, but I've since changed them to sound. This one's got a keep alive in here, which is basically a capacitor that's designed for DCC. And the reason I've got it is because the pickup system is rudimentary. It's very simple. There's a brass wiper on one side, and then it's just pickup on the other side. My next video should be on converting and upgrading a Tyco 280, which we'll talk about the two different versions. And we're going to convert that to DCC, and that one's going to go on my eBay store. Now, as I said, I do a modern Tonopah and tidewater. So let me show you what one of the modern locomotives looks like. So here is the fleet for the modern Tonopah and tidewater. Currently, we have 4 locomotives for this. For the modern fleet, I have 2 SD40-2s and 2 GP38-2s. These are done by Bachmann. They're DCC with sound. This has been another long project of mine to get these locomotives to work right. Now I'm adding ditch lights into them. The paint scheme is similar to that of the Cincinnati Eastern Railroad. And what the Tonopah and Tidewater modern day version does is they run the same route of the original, which used to haul borax, but the modern road doesn't haul borax anymore. The modern road hauls both nuclear waste to Yucca Mountain, which has been very controversial, and also runs a lithium operation, which is the purpose of my modern Tonopah and Tidewater covered hoppers, which I covered in earlier videos. The southern route, which the 40s run, runs the entire TNT route, the original right-of-way and all that, up to Yucca Mountain, where the southern route runs on the old Southern Pacific Mina branch down through Hawthorne all the way to Goldfield to the Rhyolite Ridge mines that has been proposed out here. So that's pretty much it. That's just a short discussion of finding a prototype that's not common, which would be the original Tonopah and Tidewater, and just a little history on why I model it. Again, my rated decals, but for the majority of the TNT decals, these are done by K4. So that's pretty much it. If you want to know more about my railroad or more about proto-freelancing, go ahead and throw that down in the comments below, and we will see you later. Hey, what do you know? A short video. We'll see ya.